Hello, everybody. Welcome to this year's Tecplot RS webinar. It's good to be back. We haven't done one of these in a long time, so we're excited to start doing more and more of these. And yeah, please give us feedback on what you think and what type of webinars you want to see in the future. So today we'll be going through a 30-minute history match validation workflow where we'll be loading in some data sets and going through a history match workflow in Tecplot RS. We think it's going to be quite valuable to you, so we're excited to present this to you today. My name is Raj Alimutu. I'll be your presenter for today, and I'm also your Tecplot RS product manager. So some of you may have met me in person. If not, definitely want to change that. I do want to be on site more in the next year. Really enjoy working with our customers, and so one of my goals in the next year is to meet with many of you online, on site, and to get to understand what workflows are important to you and to understand how us as a company can serve you better with our products, and to see if there's anything we could build that maybe make your life a little easier. So look forward to some emails from me in the next couple of weeks that will engage in some future conversations. So look forward to those conversations. Before we get started, I want to just remind you that we have a release coming out, 2023 release that we're pretty excited about at the end of this month. And so for those of you that have a My Tecplot account, you'll be able to go access that version as soon as we have that announcement. And I know for those of you that have part of bigger companies, your IT will take care of all that. But your My Tecplot account is where you could download your new releases. You could access your license keys. We're excited about this release. A lot of the new features are going to be shown in this webinar, in this workflow. We have a new feature called History Match Workflow, where in that history match plot type, you could create selection sets now based on criteria sets. And I'll show you some of that. And then stamp plot, which has been a pretty powerful feature in RS. We now allow you to do derived variables and negative values, which again is very helpful for history match workflows. And third, we've started to add what we call workflow tutorials within Tecplot RS. So if you've been using any type of software, there's different ways to learn. There's tutorial videos, which are very helpful. But what we found is that something embedded into the product, something that you could go through and say, okay, I want to learn a bubble plot workflow. And for us to go through step by step on, hey, click here, click here, click here. We've built in some of those tools in RS now where you could learn the product and workflows very easily without calling us or even using support. So this will be quite valuable for new users, but also anyone that, even if you're a seasoned user, we think that this is going to be very useful for you to learn the product and get up and running quickly. We have a new feature called Interactive XY. Users have complained that when you're in multi-frame modes in XY, for example, we force you into kind of a consecutive where it shows you the entities in a consecutive order, forces it into consecutive order. And what we've built is something where you could click on each frame and specify, okay, what entity do I want to see in each frame? More of an interactive way. Creating a custom plot is a little bit cumbersome, so this makes it more interactive. We're not taking away the old way, we're just adding a new way of doing this. That won't be ready till the end of January in a maintenance release, but we'll make sure to kind of slip that into the release as a maintenance release in January. So look out for those things. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions about any of that. For today, we'll be going through a 30-minute history match validation workflow. Again, I think will be quite valuable to you. The first thing we're going to do is do an initial overview of history match results. So with that, we'll be just going through, bringing in the data, really getting an understanding of what does my data mean, and getting an understanding of that. And then again, digging into that, oops, let me close this real quick. Going through that history match plot type and really getting a quantitative understanding of what my data, what my history match quality is. And finally, the third step is going to be creating selection sets based on the results of that history match assessment. And then digging deeper into what we could do with those selection sets to get a deeper understanding of my history match. So that's going to be a 3-step process, and then I'll wrap it up and again leave time for Q&A at the end. And so sorry for that pop-up there, but I'm going to jump into the demo portion, and so now it's time to bring up the product. And so yeah, so I brought up the Tecplot RS interface. So I'm going to bring in some data now. And so the data that I'm going to bring in is an Eclipse file, but the workflow that I'm going to go through is data agnostic. So whether using CMG, VIP, your own custom data, it'll all work with this workflow. But just keep in mind that this is an Eclipse workflow. And in this case, I have a summary file which has H data included in it. So what RS does is if it sees H data, it parses out that data set and creates a separate data set. So in this case, we have a simulated and a historical data set that's been parsed out. But again, if you have your historical data in a separate file, all of this will work just the same. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that in. The first thing I'm going to do is I like to go change the paper layout to double to give me a little bit more room. And the first thing I'm going to do is jump into my XY variables plot type. And what I want to do is just do a very quick analysis on what's going on with my results and get a quick understanding of that. So I'm going to click on the compare, and now I'm looking at the simulated versus historical. And now I just want to quickly kind of assess well by well what's going on in this reservoir, and quickly get for my brain to get an understanding of what's going on at a well by well level. I may want to click on this delta here, and so with this delta, I'm able to look at what the differences are between the historical and the simulated data. And so I could do a well by well analysis on that. And so those are two different ways of just looking at the data on a well by well basis. Another thing I want to do is create actually a new variable called WPT delta, and you'll see why I want to do this later in the workflow. But so I'm going to create a WPT delta variable, and I have the H variables available here again. So I'm going to create one that's a WPT minus WPTH. I'm going to calculate that, and you'll see that it created an entity called WPT delta. And I don't need that now because these RS automatically does the delta for me, but I'm going to need that later. So you'll see why I created that here in a bit. But so those are a couple of things I've done. The final thing I want to do before I move on is look at a more of a high level view of multiple plots. And so I've created a template that I'm going to apply, and I'm going to turn off my delta. And so now I'm looking at WPT, water cut, gas oil ratio, and bottom hole pressure all in the same view. And now I could go review that and start to get an understanding of what's going on in my reservoir. So starting to gather a lot of information on what's going on. And so now I've done that. It's actually forced me back into a different layouts. And so I'm going to go back to double. I'm going to go back to my XY variables and turn off, go back in a single frame, go back to my WPT. And now what I want to do is jump into 3D and start to understand qualitatively what's going on with my history match. And so I could turn on the wells here and go to something more interesting like water saturation, move forward in time a little bit. And so now what I could do is use some of the tools in RS to really qualitatively understand spatially understand my history match. And I think all my wells are turned on here, turn on all my wells. And so some of the tools I'm going to use in RS here are going to really help me understand spatially what's going on with the history match. So first thing I could do is use this time history probe, and I'm going to activate the time history and choose to, there's two different modes. So I'm going to do the click at to probe at a well. So now I could probe at a well level. So now as I go through and probe at each well, I'm looking at the raw data that I was looking at before, but now this is more interactive. I could go around spatially, okay, what's going on around each well, and looking at the raw data on the right hand side. So this is this is helping my brain kind of ingest a lot of data now at the same time, in a very spatial view, and that's very important for my you know, what RS provides is a, you know, quick understanding. Once your results are brought in, for you to get to that, your data set to be brought in, for you to fully understand what's going on, we try to make that process expedite that process as much as possible for you to get the full understanding. So now I'm going through each well by well. I want to do even a deeper analysis and get a even better understanding. So a few things I could do to do that is activate what we call stamp plot. And so stamp plot, what it does is it fixes an XY plot at the wellhead locations. And so I can specify what I want to see at the stamps by going into the options menu. And now you'll understand why I calculated that WPT delta variable earlier in the workflow. And so I can specify in those frames, I want to look at the WPT delta. And typically each frame will be, the range of each frame will be fixed to the whole, looks across the data set and fixes a range for each frame. For this case, I want to set each frame to be on its own range. So I'm going to do that because now I get to understand what the trends are for each history match for each well. And so now I'm looking at that. For the injection wells, I could just set that to be water injection rates. But for the producing wells, now I'm looking at what is the trend of the history match for each well, but I'm understanding that spatially. So I could take the 10,000 foot view and really understand, okay, what's around my reservoir, what's going on with each well on a well by well basis. What does it look like? And the power of having that time history or the probe option still available is I could do what we call an exploded plot here, where I could do a more look at this in more depth by just clicking on it on a well by well basis. So again, just really powerful things that could help me understand what's going on at a very high level. So that's stamp plot. So I'm still not satisfied. I still want to get a little bit more deeper understanding. So I'm going to go into bubble plots to get a different type of understanding of what's going on. So I'm going to activate my bubbles now, and to represent my history match, what I'm going to do for my bubble pie segments is to assign the bubble pie segments to be both my WPT and my WPTH. And so I'm going to assign the bubble pie segments to be both of those variables. I'm going to go and press auto apply, so any changes I'm making are automatically applied. And I'm going to make these bubbles a little smaller. And to make the H variable stand out quite a bit, I'm going to assign the H variable to be pink. And so now the visual way of looking at this is an ideal bubble would be for it to be half pink, half blue. And so that signifies a good history match. If the blue is dominating the bubble, that shows me that it's overproducing. If the pink is dominating the bubble, it means it's underproducing. And so I could really visually understand the history match in this type of view. And so I could go through time steps and understand what's going on on a time step level. Typically, I just might want to look at the last time step, but I could look at any time step I want. And I could take this even to a third step here now. Here I'm looking at static bubbles, which means that each time step, the bubbles are the same size, but I can make these dynamic bubbles. So with dynamic bubbles, what I could do is size the bubbles by another value. So I could say, okay, let me size the bubbles by the value of BHP at each time step. So here I'm going to make these a little bigger to make it stand out. So here what's happening is that each time step, it's being resized by the size of BHP at each time step. So I'm really getting an understanding of, again, I still have my bubble pie charts, which are helping me understand what the history match is, but then I'm introducing that level of understanding of the pressure at each well at each time step as well. So visually, I'm ingesting a lot of data at a lot in one time, where I could just drink my coffee and kind of sit back and look at this and start to get an understanding of what's going on with my history match. So the first step again is to fully understand what's going on with my history match at a very high level. So at this point, I've got the understanding, and now I'm ready to move on and do a little bit more of a deeper analysis. All right, so that's step one, and now I'm ready to move to step two. Step two, again, is to use this history match plot type, which many of you may have not even gone into in your history of using Tecplot RS. And that's okay. That's what we're here to educate you. And we've actually added a few things which I think will make you go into this plot type even more. So the history match plot type, I'll go through first what it's used for many years has been, but then also some things we've added into it as well that makes it quite useful. So the first thing we want to do is set what the history data set is. And again, that data set has been parsed out to create that history data set. Second thing I want to do is specify which wells I want to do my analysis on. I'm going to choose to do analysis on every well in the reservoir. So I'm going to go to multi-wells tab and take my left mouse and just drag all the way down, choose all of my wells. And thirdly, what I want to do is specify which variable I want to do this analysis on. So I want to do this analysis on my WPT again, which I did earlier. And this is doing analysis on the last point of WPT. And the first thing you'll notice is that it plots out the raw data on the left-hand side, the raw data, the deviation data, and on the right-hand side, it takes all those results and it builds out what we call a deviation distribution band. So the way to read that is to see, which wells fall outside of that, outside of a fit, and which wells kind of are closer to a good fit. And so it fits out a deviation distribution band for you. Typically, you want to normalize that band, and one of the things you maybe want to understand is, okay, how many entities fall within let's say a 10% deviation band. And so you can see that 7% of the entities fall within that range. So the entities here fall within that range, the entities outside fall outside of that range. So one of the things users have asked for now is to say, that's great visually and to get a number specified with that, but I really want to take that to a next level in my history match workflow. So what we've done is added a third step to this, which is going into the deviation selection set dialog. And now we have access to what actual entities are inside and outside of those bands, and to create selection sets based on that data. And so now I have this dialog that's, again, shows you which wells are inside and outside of that band, and we're able to create selection sets based on those results. And so the first thing I might want to do in this workflow is, what I want to do is, the biggest thing I want to do is understand, why are these entities falling outside of this range? I want to do a deeper analysis on that, because those are really the areas that I want to fix and need to pay closer attention to. But I may want to have access to the ones that are inside that band for presentation purposes or other things. So I have access to both. And so what I could do is create selection sets based on these results. So I'm going to create those selection sets by just typing in a name. It automatically gives me the 0.1 that is in the deviation band. But now I could create an outside band selection set. So once I click on that, you'll see the toast message comes up that automatically saves that selection set. I could continue here and create one for the inside as well. And if I can spell inside correctly, inside, and click on the inside band, and you'll see that it created the band for the inside. And I want to continue on this, and since this is a useful thing for me, is to maybe create another one for a 20% band. So now I'm going to do analysis on, okay, how many wells fall within a 20% band? Now I'm seeing that 21% of the wells fall within a 20% deviation band, and these lists have been updated for those results. So now I want to do the same workflow where I'm going to create these selection sets based on those results. So I'm going to create one for the outside band here, and I want to create the inside band as well. All right, so now I've created 4 different selection sets that I could use anytime during my project. So at any point during my project, I could take advantage of this data set or these selection sets at any point. So I could go into the manage selection set dialog and look at what wells fall in those selection sets. I could rename these. I could remove these if necessary, but I have created 4 selection sets that can be very useful throughout my project. So I've done that. So what I've done here is, again, done a full assessment, quality assessment on my history match, kind of a statistical approach on understanding my history match in this plot type, which is very powerful. Again, this is a place you should come to often if you're doing a history match to take advantage of all this. So now I've created selection sets based on those results, and now I'm ready to move on to my third step, which is using those selection sets in a useful way. Okay, so I'm going back to my original XY variables. I'm going to change back to creating the active data set to be the simulated data. Now I have these selection sets that I've created. Now what can I do to these to get a better understanding of what's going on? And so a few things I could do. Probably one of the most useful things I could do is use that selection set as kind of a filter. And I could do that by going into the filter dialog, and you'll see in the filter dialog, I have a selection set tab where I have access to those selection sets that I've created. So one of the simple things I could do is just saying, I want to replace this selection with one of the selection sets. And so I wanted to do analysis, deep dive on those wells entities that fall outside of that 20% tolerance range. So I could say replace that selection with that data set, with that selection set, and press apply, and you'll see that it changed here. Any of those you could change based on any of those selection sets, but I want to filter down based on these wells. And I'm going to press OK here, and you'll see that it changed now to view just those wells that fall within that selection set. So now I could do a deeper dive analysis where I could go step through, and this is more of an isolated entity list that I'm going through now and analyzing that fall within that outside of that 20% range. And so that's one thing that I could do. The second thing I'm going to do right now is to go to data, to groups patterns. And what I could do now is create a group based on those selection sets. So I'm not going to go into detail what this group dialog can do, but what it does basically is creates a group based on the selection sets that I've created. So all I have to do is press OK. I've selected all those selection sets, and it's created 4 groups based on those selection sets. So now what I could do is go into my entity list, and you'll see that it's created entities based on those selection sets. So now I have entities that that have been summed up or averaged based on what value you're grouping. That creates a full entity. And if you're a seasoned user, you might have always passed by this XY subsets plot type, and you're wondering what is that, and that's exactly what it is. If you have groups created, you could take advantage of the XY subsets. So I could go jump into my XY subsets, and I could do a full analysis on, let's say, just that that selection set of what wells fall inside of that 10% tolerance band. And now I'm just looking at the specific entities that fall within that range. One of the things I like to do is kind of use this view to kind of understand, okay, like I have some injectors in that selection set. I may want to go do some work to remove those from the selection set, but I have those here to do analysis on, and I could do a quick sum of all of those that are inside of the selection set, or an average, and so I could start to do some analysis there. Now, the last thing I could do that's quite powerful is to go into back into my 3D grid, and I'm going to turn off the bubbles and use those selection sets to um, to uh, isolate regions or to filter out the well display list. And so if I go into my wells options dialog, you'll see that my selection sets are available in that dialog as well. And so what I could choose to do is to say, I want to, again, do more a deep dive analysis on that range that falls outside of that 20%, because I really want to understand in a qualitative way, I want to do a deeper dive on what's going on in those areas. And so I could replace that selection with what I'm seeing here. And if I press apply, you'll see that it changed the list. And if I do a refresh, it automatically refreshes the well display list to show what's inside that selection set. So now I could do more of deeper analysis in a real world example. This may isolate to more of something meaningful, but for here, what I could do is maybe do a deeper dive. And for example, maybe I want to do a pick blanking on an area that I've identified here based on this new well display. And I could say maybe I want to do a pick blanking, for example, and maybe isolate a region that I'm seeing here that I have that okay, why really understand why are these why is this area not showing me a good match. And I don't know what happened there. I'm going to retry that and clear the and try that again. There we go. And so now oops, close that. And so now I could do a deeper analysis on what's going on in that area. The second thing I might want to do is use some slicing to do a deeper analysis. So I may want to go into my arbitrary slice tool. I'm going to delete the ones that I have already, and just to start to create a chain of wells here. And the easy way of doing things in RS to create an arbitrary slice, and stop that. And so now I'm viewing a arbitrary slice, and so based on those results of what wells you have remaining, you can start to do a deeper analysis. If you have faults, you could start to understand, okay, what's going on in the reservoir, and for my mind to start getting understanding visually what's going on and to make decisions based on those things I'm learning. And so that's a very quick overview of the history match workflow. Again, I want it to be 30 minutes. I think I did even under 30 minutes. So you could do the full workflow under 30 minutes is what if you do it really fast and talk really fast. But hopefully that will be useful for you of doing history match. Again, I know I went through those things pretty quickly, but as you try these things, feel free to reach out and to ask any questions. And yeah, we want to make sure that you know how to use these tools and are comfortable navigating through all of that. So that I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, the conclusion. But so some of the things you've learned here, number one was to use some of the tools in RS to get to know your data better. All the things, of course, in XY plot types, but then also in your qualitative analysis to use tools such as probe Excel, to use stamp plot, to use bubble plot to really understand your results at a deeper level, and to familiarize yourself with that a little bit more. Second, to go through a quantitative analysis, to understand the history match quality using the history match plot type, and based on those results to create selection sets based on some of the criteria that you've understood there. And then finally to use those selection sets in other parts of RS to say, okay, let me do a deeper dive on what's going on in those areas, and to get a better understanding of what's going on. So those are things you learned. Hopefully that was quite valuable to you. Again, after this, I do want to do a lot of follow-up and to things that you've learned today, to do trainings to understand what you're doing in your everyday work to collect future requests that you might have. And so we want to make sure we leave. I leave a lot of time in my job to do that. So feel free to reach out and to set those meetings up. So thank you for your time. I'm going to leave some time here for Q&A. So again, feel free to ask me any questions through the chat panel. Okay, we have a few here. So the first question here is, do selection sets get saved in project files? And the answer is yes. And so I'm going to show you a couple of things here. So yes, so the selection sets do get saved in project files, and you'll see if you go to the filter dialog, and if you go into that selection set edit dialog, number one, yeah, all these get saved under a project file, but you'll see here that you could also load in and save selection sets that you created. And so you could go in different, if you were working on a different day on a different project, you could come in and load your data set, your selection sets here. Hopefully that answered the question. Second question is, can you calculate variables across data sets? Right now the answer is no. So the question was I think is through this dialog, can you create calculated variables across data sets? And I think the impetus for that question is creating a variable that's a difference between values in different data sets to get a WPT delta. So because not all the time the H variable won't be inside of that same data set. So hope my developers on the line that that's actually a really good idea, and that we should look into to see if we could do that, because that'll be valuable in this workflow. So I'll talk to developers and see if that's something we could implement in the next year. And the final question here that I'm seeing is, for stamp plots, can you plot multiple lines? For example, WPT, OPT. So I think, so I'm gonna turn off this and go back to the stand plot. So as you can see, the stand plots are pretty small, and you know, at a high level, this is the reason we've chosen to go fill, because you could choose to do unfill those, and to look at those at a line basis. But when you're sitting back, those are really hard to read. So we decided at default that these are filled lines, and we've made the decision to keep these as a single line, just because it could get really hard to read and understand if you have multiple lines. But if that's something that users want, we could definitely start to talk to customers about that, because yeah, we understand that, yeah, looking at something like OPT and WPT on the same plot is useful, but we just don't know if that's going to be a good way of visualizing that in stamp plot. We may think of other options for you for that. And we have another question here. What's this black and blue plots respectively? Again, the black plots are the so I created that WPT delta variable here that was the difference between the WPT and WPTH. And so I've created that new variable for that stand plot. What I did is I specified what I want to see at each well. So you can specify what you see at the production wells and what you see in the injection wells. So if the black line represents that WPT delta value that I specified, and the blue lines represents the water injection rate for the injection wells. So that's what the black and blue plots mean respectively. And I think that was all the questions that came up here. Yeah, feel free to ask me any questions through email that you may have in follow up, but happy to meet with you for you to do a more deeper dive into any of this as well.